Heyo, what is up everybody? Coach Chad here, the CEO of the At First Closing Academy. And today we are going to talk about the 10 reasons why high ticket closers never make it to $10,000 a month. So without further ado, let's get into it. And don't judge me, I got my notes here, okay? I can't remember all this shit off the top of my head, so don't judge me. I took some notes. All right, let's get into it. So number one, they are on the wrong offer. Okay, so more specifically, there's a couple of different components to this, but more specifically, the offer they are selling is a low ticket product, or it is on the lower side of high ticket, okay? So, more specifically, like fitness coaching offers, a lot of them sell programs from like $1,000 to $3,000. So the commissions are gonna be smaller. They're gonna be like 100 to 300 bucks, which just means you have to sell more people in order to make $10,000. Well, if I'm a betting man, I want to sell a higher package program. So you should be looking for a program that sells you should be looking for an offer that sells a program around $5,000 to $20,000, because then your commission will be anywhere from like $500 to $2,000, and heck, it could even be more than that. Now, other things you should be looking for, okay? You also want the offer or the company that you're working for to have some sort of a bonus structure, right? Usually to get to $10,000 a month or $20,000 a month or $30,000 a month, you could do that off of pure commission alone for sure. But if you also have bonus incentives, for example, with my closers, I say, hey, if you collect a certain amount of cash a month, and I'll give them a number, I'll give you an extra whatever, 2,000, 3,000, whatever the dollar amount may be, right? So that just makes it easier to accomplish the $10,000 figure. All right, now the other thing here with on the wrong offer, you also want to make sure that the company you're working for has leadership. And what I mean by that is like they have regularly scheduled meetings, there's extra trainings, like they are a tight-knit ship, because if they're not, guess what? You're going to be left on an island, you're going to be asked to close deals, and you're probably not going to make $10,000 a month because there's no leadership. There's nobody training you. There's nobody pulling you forward to improve your skills and help you reach your goal. So that's number one. They're on the wrong offer. Number two, this is more on the closer. The closer is not flexible enough, okay? And maybe they got into closing for the wrong reason, right? Maybe they thought that this was like a flexible online remote job, which sure, it is remote and you could take a call from anywhere, but in order to make $10,000 a month, you're gonna have to put in a lot more work than you probably were advertised, okay? So more specifically, you need to be offering 5 to 7 slots a day. Most sales calls are an hour long. So that means you need to be offering 5 to 7 hours out of your day as a possible slot to get a call booked. Okay, if you want to make $10,000 a month, you're probably going to have to take some calls on the weekend. Am I saying you have to give up your whole entire weekend? No, right? But the closers that I've seen be successful, they do take some calls on the weekend. It's probably not 5 to 7, but they open up a couple of slots, right? Maybe they put their follow-up calls on there. Maybe they take a couple of calls on a Saturday morning, right? Usually it's a half a day, but the people that want it will do it, and that's why you are not making $10,000 a month and somebody else is. Okay, the other part of flexibility is, sure, yeah, you can create your own schedule, right? But also the customer kind of tells you what your schedule is going to be, right? I've sold a lot of programs where people could only take calls in the evenings because of their work schedule, or they can only take calls in the morning, or they could only take calls in the midday. Whenever the hot time is for calls, you have to be flexible enough and not so rigid to say, hey, that's when I'll offer my call times. If people want evenings, fuck it, I'll offer evenings, and I'll change my schedule to accommodate them. It's the people that aren't willing to do that are not making $10,000 a month. So that's number two. Number three, they are not following up, okay? And this goes a lot deeper than just not following up with the people that didn't close. That should be a given, right? The individuals that you had sales calls with that for whatever reason you weren't able to get over the hump, you should be following up with those individuals. But you should also be following up with calls that were on your calendar that never showed, right? Why? Because at a certain point, there was something that happened that made them say, hey, I should probably book in a call to solve this problem. And then something else happened that said, you know what, I'm not gonna show up on this call anymore. But that part of them that wants to book the call is still in there, right? So if you don't follow up with them, then you're not gonna get any of those people back on the phone. Okay, so we talked about obviously individuals that didn't close, you got to follow up with them. People that were on your calendar and didn't show, you got to follow up with them. You also got to follow up with people that reschedule, right? That say, hey, I need to reschedule. If you just let them slip through the cracks, guess what? That's a missed opportunity, right? So make sure that we are prioritizing reschedules. And lastly, a different terminology, but nurture, right? Following up, you can kind of view that as like, I had a sales call with somebody, I follow up with them, I try to get them back on a call in a week, and I close the deal. But you also have to view certain prospects as long-term nurture. What I mean by long-term nurture is maybe they're not ready to sign up for the next 3 to 6 months, right? But it's on you to continue that conversation for the next 3 to 6 months, to stay in their ecosystem, to stay top of mind, because when they're ready to solve that problem, if you are the individual that was top of mind, guess what? Then they are ultimately gonna go with you and not somebody else, right? And that could be a big reason why you're not making $10,000 a month, because there's another closer who's out there that's willing to do that and you aren't. Okay, so that's number 3, not following up. Number 4, they are not training. Okay? And even if you're on a company that offers limited training, right? You should be training on your own. Training right now is easier than it's ever been. I train every single day. I go on character.ai, which is a voice, you can talk to it, and I literally do role play with it every day. And you could do role play with your wife. in a sales context, get your mind out of the freaking gutter, right? But it's your responsibility to do role play. It is your responsibility to train. It is your responsibility to get better at sales. And the reason you're not making $10,000 a month is because you're not doing it. Okay, number 5. One other thing I want to say about that is sales is a muscle, right? If somebody got jacked once, but then they stopped going to the gym, what's going to happen? They're going to lose that muscle. Same thing is true in sales. If somebody got trained and got good at sales once, what's going to happen eventually when they stop doing the training? They're going to lose that muscle. All right, number 5, not staying in sales energy. Okay, so when I say sales energy, I'm really talking about like your personal life. I'm talking about like you have your personal life on lock. Why is that important? Because when you're leading by example, it increases your belief, it increases your conviction, and sales at the end of the day is a transfer of energy. Okay? Here's the analogy I always give. A mom and a daughter walk into the candy store. The mom wants the kid not to have candy, the kid wants to have candy. Whoever is more convicted, whoever believes in their stance more, is going to walk out of that candy store a winner. If the kid believes that they deserve that lollipop more than the mom believes that the kid does not deserve that lollipop, then guess what? The kid is gonna win. Well, the same thing is true on your sales calls. Okay? If you are more convicted that this person needs the program than they are convicted in their own objections, then you will win the sale every single time. What is one surefire way to make sure that you are convicted? Lead by example. Lead by example in the offer that you are selling. So if it's a fitness program, you should be fit. If it's a relationship program, you should have a great relationship, right? You should lead an example in that way, but you should lead an example as a total human being, human excellence, okay? So being in sales energy means you have a personal development routine. You're focused on fitness. You're improving your mindset. You are leading by example. Almost every single time one of my closers was in a sales slump, it was not the fact that they're not good at sales anymore, but it was the fact that they are not, something in their personal life is fucked up. Okay, so keep it on lock. All right, number 6, you're not worried about your show rate. Okay, one of the reasons why you're not making $10,000 a month is you don't give a shit about your show rate, right? You're like, whatever. If they show, they show. If they don't show, they don't show. Your show rate should be 70%. 70%. So if you have 10 calls on your calendar, you should expect 7 of those calls to show. 6, I'll take 6. 60% is fine, but anything below 60% is an absolute, you got to fix the show rate. You got to look into fixing the show rate. And you got to talk to your company about your show rate as well, because there could be some things that they could do to help you too. All right, but if you are not worried about your show rate, you are missing opportunities. All right, number 7, they're not worried about upfront cash. Okay, this could be a big reason why you're not making $10,000 a month. And here's why, okay? A lot of companies will only pay you out when you collect them a certain amount of money. So let me give you an example. So let's say you sell a $10,000 package, okay? A lot of companies will say, hey, I will pay you out your commission when $3,000 of that $10,000 is paid on. Right? Why do they do that? They do that because if somebody does a chargeback or a refund, then they don't owe you commission and they don't lose money. Okay, plain and simple, right? So how can we combat this? We can combat this by focusing on upfront cash collected. Okay, so for me, what I would encourage you is you should have a 30% upfront cash collected. So if the total contract is worth, let's say, $10,000 or $5,000, whatever it is, your goal should be to collect the 30% on the sales call. Because if you collect the 30% on the sales call, you are guaranteed to get that commission in the next paycheck. And maybe it's not 30%. That's kind of industry standard, right? But you should look at the contract that you're signing with the company or ask the company what their upfront cash collected percentage is, right? And or if they have one that's related to your payroll. Okay, so that is number 7. Number 8, one of the big reasons why you're not making $10,000 a month is because you don't track your data. You're lazy as fuck. All right, excuse my language, but it's true. You're being lazy as shit. All right, you think that a high ticket role, a high ticket sales role is just showing up and taking calls, but it's a lot more than that. The professionals are the ones that make $10,000 a month, and the professionals are tracking their data. And why are they tracking their data? Are they doing it because they're, OCD and all that? Yeah, they actually are. But the real reason they're doing it is because they're trying to find weaknesses in their game. They're trying to see, hey, all right, of this many calls, this percentage is showing, I'm pitching this percentage, I've closed this percentage, I've contracted this amount, I've collected X amount of the contracted, right? And they just have an understanding of where they're strong and where they're weak. And if they know where they're strong, they can lean into their strength. If they know their weaknesses, they can fix and improve their weaknesses. They also know, another thing that they know because they track their data is they know where they're at for the month, right? And more specifically, they're like, hey, as of right now, I'm on track to make $5,000 this month. Shit, I gotta up my game. Let me go hit my follow-up list. Boom, 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 boom. Cool, I'm closing more deals. Now I'm on track for $10,000 a month, right? They are diligent and militant in this way. All right, moving on to number 9. They undervalue the discovery. The people that are not making $10,000 a month undervalue the discovery section of the sales call. The discovery section is where we eliminate objections before they even become objections. That's where we figure out what is the actual reason this individual is on the sales call, which gives you leverage to close the fucking deal. Okay, sales is not just objection handling. Sales is not just presenting the program. Sales is learning this individual inside and out. So we can eliminate objections before they ever happen, and we can know the true reason why they're here. And if we know the true reason why we're here, we can overcome any objection that comes our way. Okay, now number 10. Yes, we're on number 10. Yes, we are. Okay. Okay, this is more so why you aren't making more than $10,000 a month. So you can make $10,000 a month and not be a culture builder, but if you want to make $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month as a high ticket closer, you have to be a culture builder. Okay, so what I mean by culture builder is you're not just somebody who clocks in, makes a lot of money for the company. This is more than making a lot of money for the company, right? This is building the culture. This is bringing the energy, okay? I'm trying to give an example here, okay? Tom Brady. Tom Brady won Super Bowls for the Patriots, right? That would be the equivalent of making money for the company. But Tom Brady did a lot more than that. The reason they won all those Super Bowls is because he built the culture. And the culture of the Patriots during that time was disciplined, right? We show up on time. We care about our work. We sacrifice, right? We're all in, right? He's the one that built the culture. And he wasn't even the coach, right? He wasn't even the CEO, right? The CEO would have been Bill Belichick, right? He was a player. Players can build culture. And honestly, if a player leans into building culture, they could build culture a lot faster than the CEO. Why? Because the CEO is almost expected to do that, right? So when the CEO is preaching all these messages and saying all these things, sometimes it falls on deaf ear because it's a part of their job description. But when a player steps up and gives a talk, or a player steps up and holds somebody accountable, another player accountable, it means a lot more because it's not necessarily expected of them. So if you could be a culture builder, the company's going to value you, and guess what? You're going to climb the ranks. Maybe you become the next sales manager, and at that point, you're making a lot more money. All right, those are the 10 reasons why most high-ticket closers will never make $10,000 a month. Peace out.